Ensure that coaching in the country across all levels follows the same outlook. It will be implemented from grassroots level to professional football to restore South Africa's football identity.
The national playing philosophy says this is how we do things here. It's a culture, and we want to make our coaches out there to become culture keepers.
It's not the first time that such an initiative has been introduced, the most notable being Vision 2000. It was meant to ensure that the national under-23 team qualifies for the Sydney Olympics that year. That was realized and deemed a success. There is optimism that the 7-point plan will follow a similar success trail.
These are SAFA instructors. These are guys that started way back when we were still playing or up-and-coming players. And now if you share the knowledge, their experience, our experience, you bring the modern game together, we can only get the best for the development of the country.
SAFCA will need a buy-in from the South African Football Association for the project to succeed. A good working relationship will be required with the mother body's technical committee. They will also source funding from the 2010 FIFA Legacy Trust and other institutions to sustain the project. Lebohang Tube, SABC News, Soweto.
Now, to take the story further, I'm now joined by somebody who's from the technical team of the South African football coaches. His name is Sudesh Singh. Good morning, Sudesh, and thank you very much for coming through to AM News.
Good morning, Kendall, and good morning to the viewers.
Sudesh, I think let's start right at the top so that our viewers get an idea of who it is I'm talking to. Can you tell us a little bit about the South African Football Coaches Association, SAFCA, what it is that you do and where you fit into the bigger picture of what SAFA is?
Yeah, I think, Kendall, just a brief input. SAFCA has been formed in 1992. It was actually a product of the Chibuku Youth Academy that started at Orlando Stadium. And you will notice we held our press conference in Soweto because we feel that's our spiritual home of coaches. And there have been some problems over the years where the body has not been very actively involved. So now under the new president, Greg Mashilo, he has asked some of us to come on board as technical advisors. And some of the people include old experienced coaches like Ted Dimitru, Augusto Palacios, Clive Barker. You've heard Simon Gomane there. Myself, so we're trying to add some kind of direction to the body. And in the past year, I think we've volunteered our services and we're on the step of reviving and transforming the organization.
All right. Now, with that said, it's not the very first time that we hear of South African football trying to create and trying to unite South African footballing into one playing philosophy. It's not the first time we hear about it. The 7-point plan that you've put out is supposed to basically develop and enhance that idea. What is in the 7-point plan that's going to make this be the end game for talking about the national philosophy?
Definitely, Kendall. I think what you mentioned is very important. It all starts with the philosophy, and when people have different ideas of what a philosophy is, you know, it's not about playing systems or tactical approaches to the game. It's just it's a system of knowledge and beliefs that define a particular way of playing, and those things are based on 3 pillars. You know, it's the natural attributes of your players, the environmental conditions, the diet, nutrition of the culture, and then you look at international modern trends. So those are the things, you put them together and those will define, eventually you will get an identity. But rightfully you mentioned, it's just talk, but we've got to implement that. And to do that, you need a strong technical authority in the country. Currently, unfortunately, at SAFA, that is something that is lacking. We don't have the capacity, the technical capacity. And the results will show, obviously over the past decade, that where we should be and where we are is not where a country like us should be, you know?
Well, we talk about that. I mean, for example, like basically you're referring to and you're talking to what Simon Gomane, the head of the technical team at SAFCA, said this morning, that prior to the 1st of July, when SAFA puts in, because they've decided, SAFA's going to decide they're going to announce who the technical director is on the 1st of July. Prior to that, there needs to be some kind of a think tank, some structures behind it to actually assist the process. Is that what you mean?
Exactly. You need a technical authority, a technical body to support it. The technical director is just the face of that body. And likewise, that body can also support the national coaches. Now we have national coaches that come and go and we start from zero again, you know. When a coach is fired, he comes with his own belief, his own systems, and we start ground zero. So if you have a strong technical authority based on expertise, experience, purely on merit, those are the people who are going to guide direction of football in the country.
Sudesh, what would you say is the South African way of playing football? What is it?
I think it's been proven that we see it in patches, some of our PSL teams, some of our national teams, but it's based on the natural attributes of our players. We are not big physically. We don't play the long direct football. It's more of short interpassing, quick combination play, keeping the ball on the ground, possession. That's our skills. That's the characteristic. So we need to enhance that. And you see it when you watch youngsters play in under 12. You see it naturally. You see some of our teams achieve it accidentally. You look at patches in Bafana, under 23, under 20, it's all there. So what we need to do, if you don't do it properly, the whole development cycle, which is about 10 years, then you will never achieve international success, you know.
All right, now with that said, we look at some of the coaches that we've had, because one of the big things that SAFCA has been propagating and pushing for is to maintain having local coaches, people from South Africa coaching our national teams. We look at Bafana, and the last 4 coaches we've had after the Barrera Santana era are 4 local coaches. We had Pito Musimani, Steve Kompela, Gordon Egerson, and now Sheikh Mashaba for his third tenure. What is your take on how they've performed? Because it's been quite a while that we've had 4 local coaches leading our teams. What is your take on their performances? Yeah,
I think also there we're not looking at the bigger picture. As we rightfully said, we need the strong technical authority out of them. You know, yes, we want local coaches or somebody who's experienced in local culture, a native, a foreigner, but who could be living here for a long time. But the individual alone is not enough. If you look at when Clive Barker achieved success in '96, he was surrounded by a strong panel of coaches. The chairman of the technical committee at that time was Jomo Sono, and they were all technicians on that committee. And he himself, Clive, was surrounded by a lot of experienced coaches who were helping him. And going into '98 World Cup was the same thing. Going to 2002 World Cup with Jomo at the helm, we had that. So what we are saying, all forward-thinking countries, they have a very strong technical authority behind them. And that should be the driving force of football.
Yes.
The head coach is just the face of it, but he should have that support behind him.
That makes a lot of sense, and I want to thank you very much, Sudesh, for having come through to share this with us. I believe that we are on the right track then, and do hope that you get success in getting it right.
Yeah, we hope so. We're just lacking the resources for it. Thank you.
Now, Sudesh, before you go, we're going to be doing something quite interesting, because I do believe you were around in 1995. You remember the Rugby World Cup, don't you?
Definitely.
Now, you remember, I'm sure where were you during the Rugby World Cup?
I think I was at some place watching the game with my friends. You know?
Yeah. Now, I was watching the game with my friends. I was a little
sports bar, yeah.
Yeah. Now, we got a couple of tweets from some of our viewers telling us what they think about this. I mean, for example, Andre Damon says 20 years ago the Springboks won the World Cup. That day, rugby became more than a sport for us. It became our world history. Would you agree with that?
I think in a way, but I think we actually went backwards in a way, because when you look at social cohesion and integration, unfortunately, it's only we get together when there's big events.
Yes.
And then people go back into their own little lagers, you know?
Yeah.
So when you look at that, could have been the springboard to actually have a real integrated society. And the following year was the '96 AFCON.
Yes.
So those should be the launching pad of really launching, of uniting the diversity in the country.
Exactly that, because Dwayne McCarthy is saying exactly the same thing, that we were united 20 years ago. Today our nation was united by sport. We can do it again this year and bring us some positivity back. He's just picking up on exactly what you're talking about. Let's see who else is saying what happened in 20 years ago. Who else has got comments on that? If I get another tweeter to be fantastic. All right, it's just those two. Well, you know, I do believe that a lot can be done. A lot can be done. Oh, there's Jackie Ramaiya. Remembering 20 years ago today, first Rugby World Cup for the Springboks. Where were you when the final whistle blew? I remember exactly where I was. I was still living in Cape Town, and I was in Reza at that time. We had a fantastic time. We'd had quite a few drinks, if I could say, refreshments, if I could say. And it was quite special, especially when we then 2 years, like a year later, we won 96 AFCON. So fantastic stuff, and I believe that what you're doing, what you're talking about getting the national philosophy of playing in the right place, will be fantastic. We'll be doing well.
Thank you, Ken.
All right, now, Sudesh Singh from SAFCA sharing that moment with us after giving us the 7-point plan from SAFCA's coaching philosophy going into the future.